listening to the Fours Up Podcast with your host, Marsh.
What up, Canes fans? It is the Fours Up Podcast, and it is Monday, August 24th, and we are 17 days away from kickoff. As always, I am joined by my wonderful producer and co-host, Jordan Nelson. Jordan, football's in the air. We're getting closer, baby.
It is in the air, man. I can smell it.
I can smell it, man.
I don't know if that sounds creepy or not.
It's that time of year.
I know, man. There's a certain fall smell that happens in Salt Lake right at the end. I don't know if it happens elsewhere. It probably does. But right at the end of summer when fall's around the corner, and dude, that just, like, my brain is hardwired to think football when I smell that. And so, dude,
yeah. I'm here in South Florida, they're getting excited, man. I'm getting questions all the time about the Canes, and there's someone actually who stopped me in Publix the other day. He said, "Hey, Marsh." I'm like, "Hello." And he was just, "Hey, how are the Canes going to do?" I'm like, we're hopeful." And then he says, "All right, bye."
Did he tell you that your arms look way bigger in person?
Then, I have that vacation bod now, where, my body just looks like I drank 15 Diet Cokes in one day and ate about 50 Jolly Ranchers. So I don't know I think my arms are lacking a little bit right now, but it's been good to be down here, and it's fun being on the Zoom calls with the coaches and the players. So, and we just had our second scrimmage this past weekend. So we got a ton of things to talk about. But first things first, I don't know how much you have read into what happened at the second scrimmage, but what were some of the takeaways that you had, base surface?
Well, dude, I mean, the biggest thing that popped was Tyler Van Dyke's stat line, because that looks like something that you do in NCAA 14. I mean, like, what was it, 5 completions for 200 yards or something?
Yeah. So I'm reading it right now. He was 5 for 6, 205 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception.
So he was averaging 50 yards a completion.
Yeah. I'm no math guy, but that's what it seems to be. That is insane. And I've seen the video of him throwing an interception. It was to Brian Ballum, I think, who had the interception, and it really wasn't Van Dyke's fault. And so he really could have been 6 for 6 for like 230 or something like that. But I know that Tyler Van Dyke struggled a little bit in the first scrimmage, which is expected. It was his first college scrimmage, but it definitely looks like he is putting the pressure for him to be the second string quarterback.
Yeah, so there's a few things that jumped out. So one is I can't remember where I saw this. So take this with a grain of salt because it's info from Twitter that I can't remember the source. I saw someone say on Twitter that they watched Tyler Van Dyke and Xavier Restrepo running sprints against each other in the sand volleyball courts at UM like all summer, and they said that they personally witnessed Tyler Van Dyke beating him at least once.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't see that.
Yeah, so I can't remember where that's from. If you hear this and you're like, hey, that was me, then, quote tweet it or whatever. But take it with a grain of salt because I just saw it on Twitter. I'm not gonna stand by that. And
So yeah, that is great. So the other quarterback, a guy named Derek King, he played very well. Again, 95 yards through the air, 2 touchdown passes. So Derek King now has 6 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions through the first 2 scrimmages. Jalen Knighton had a good game again, 12 carries, 43 yards, a touchdown. Don Chaney, 8 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown. Cam Harris, who was not there the first scrimmage, was back on Saturday, and he ran the ball for 77 yards on 13 carries. He had 1 rushing touchdown. He also had 2 receptions he had 5 receptions and 2 receiving touchdowns. So, how are you feeling about our running backs right now? Holy cow.
Yeah, I feel friggin-tastic about our running backs right now, man. I mean, we expected big things from Jalen Knighton as a true freshman. I think we both kind of expected Don Chaney to have a slower approach, but it kind of seems like they're both full speed ahead, ready to contribute at a high level.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, I love Knighton's skill set. I thought it would translate immediately, especially in a Rhett Lashley offense. But we need to remember that Don Chaney was like, as a consensus, a higher rated player.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So like we shouldn't be writing him off. I think it was probably the injury that he had in spring. We were all saying, okay, maybe they'll slow play him. We got Robert Burns. Knighton fills that utility role that we needed anyways. But dude, I don't know what the deal with Robert Burns is. I don't even know if he's still on the roster or not because we haven't heard anything about him. But it sounds like the 3 running backs that we're hearing about, all of them are ready to play.
Yeah.
And play well.
And they're like, yeah, exactly. And they're playing well. And so Jalen Knighton has over 160 yards rushing in his first 2 games. And so moving on to the receivers, it was the true freshmen that were making the plays. I know that we've all been asking a lot about Mark Pope and things like that. So Xavier Restrepo, our guy X, I know he had a big first scrimmage with a 70-yard reverse on a touchdown. He had another really big scrimmage on Saturday, 5 catches, 79 yards, and 1 touchdown. And then our boy from California, Keyshawn Smith, had a reception, or three receptions, 53 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
So I mean, the freshmen are really, really, putting in the work and making plays. And where are the older guys? I mean, I haven't. I'm sure that they got, had some catches, but I'm just looking at some of the stats that I was given, talking to people at Miami, and I don't see anything for D. Wiggins or anything like that. So, and through the first 2 scrimmages, Restrepo leads the receivers with 7 receptions, 133 receiving yards, and he has scored 2 total touchdowns. So, receivers.
I was going to stop you right there. And I mean, you pointed it out, but we've talked about 3 positions so far. And, aside from Derek King, we've talked about it being true freshmen that were popping at each position that we've talked about. That is huge, man. Like, that makes me so excited. And, I said it on Twitter yesterday, I believe, when I said, because someone, I think it was like No Limits 26, who I interact with all the time, seems like a good dude. He said, I'm drawing a blank now. So he said, it's amazing that it's Restrepo and it's Knighton and these guys that are being difference makers. And I quote tweeted it and said, if anything can bring the U back, and I'm making air quotes right there because whatever that means, it will be the attitude that our true freshman class has right now, because these guys are just killing it, man. Actually, that might have been the tweet that was talking about Restrepo and Tyler Van Dyke. I can't remember.
You just gotta love what these guys are doing, and how much does it say to some of the older players? I mean, dude, and I think years past maybe seniority would have given some other players, a nod when it comes to playing time, but that's definitely not the case right now.
Yeah. Well, I could channel our friend Better Duck and be like, you guys don't get the benefit of seniority because you lost to FIU last year. So if you're getting worked by true freshmen, then get the F out. Let's let the talent play.
Absolutely. And then the tight ends, Brevin Jordan was back, thankfully. He had 4 catches. Larry Hodge, I'm not sure how many receptions he had, but he had 45 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. So tight ends look to be good. Offensive line, I've heard good things. And then on the defense, Jalen Phillips had a sack. Quincy Roche, it was his first scrimmage, and apparently he was everywhere. He had 4 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Jafari Harvey had 6 tackles. Avery Huff with 5 tackles, 2 for loss, and 2 sacks. Corey Flagg had a fumble recovery. Corey Couch had an interception. And then freshman safety Brian Ballum with 7 tackles. He led the team. He had an interception and a forced fumble. So 3 turnovers for the defense. How are you feeling about the defense? I know that a lot of people were worried about them in the first scrimmage because the offense seemed to go up and down the field. But how are you feeling now since they, played a little bit better?
I'm very excited. Well, I'm much more hopeful, I should say. I'm excited to hear some of the names that you just read, because I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of open playing time in our secondary and in our linebacking core. I think these scrimmages are much more important to playing time than people think. I mean, we've kind of penciled in Avery Huff and Zach McLeod at linebacker, and we've penciled in the guys who are going to get a lot of time. I certainly think Gervin Hall and Bubba Bolden will be starters, but there's a lot of playing time behind those guys. And then at corner, the spots are wide open. So it makes me really happy to hear that Brian Ballum is popping. I mean, people are going on and on about how well he played. Hearing that Bradley Jennings and Corey Flagg have been playing so well, that's fantastic for our linebacking core. That is really, I mean, when all is said and done, it could be deep, but we have basically no experience outside of Zach McLeod at linebacker. So it's a wide open competition. And I mean, who's to say that Zach McLeod is even the best linebacker we have? We just don't know. So these scrimmages are so important at the linebacker and safety position.
Yeah, definitely. And just echoing off of what you said, definitely hearing the things about Bradley Jennings Jr. is a plus just because he has, battled with injuries and things like that. And it's great to see guys like Avery Huff and Sam Brooks, they are playing very, very well to begin. And then, Corey Flagg, that I think he had a sack in the first scrimmage, and then this past, one, he had a forced fumble. So definitely looks like the linebacker core is coming together, and I hopefully that it steps up a lot more. As far as the safeties go, outside of Bubba and Gervin, and especially now with Avante, he's not going to be playing this year. I think Brian Ballum could see some significant playing time. That's going to be a position that we're going to have to watch, and Ja'Cory Couch is going to have to play a big role in cornerback. I know he is thought of as the best cover corner on this roster. And so this is going to be a very, very big week for the Canes as far as fall camp goes, just because, we're getting into it. I know a lot of people don't realize how close we are to football season, but dude, 2 weeks from Thursday, we kick off.
Yeah. It's, it's exciting. I was thinking about that today. I'm very much a guy who, I mean, most people probably do this, where I split things into segments. And so I've just been thinking, like, if I can just get to Thursday, we're 2 weeks away, and then if I could just get to next Thursday, then it's game week,
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I'll be in Utah for the first game, so we'll definitely have to do something like live reaction or something. Yeah. But some other notes, Hard Rock Stadium announced today that for them and the Dolphins, 20,000 or 20% capacity will be allowed in the stadium, 13,000 fans. That equals out to 13,000 fans at the stadium. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I have a question for you, Marsh, and it's an over and under. I'm going to set the over and under at 2.5, and I'm going to say, which are you taking for games that we do not sell out?
I want to hear your answer first, honestly.
I need you to say it first, because I'm already going to get a lot of hate for that.
I may say under, man.
You're going to say, yeah, I can see that. I will probably go with the under as well. I hope that people respond to, like, we have a special roster this year, special circumstances, so let's fill up the stadium every game. I'm worried that it could go the opposite, and that, I mean, we've played regular season games with less than 13,000